Okay, so hello to you all, Freedom Giants. We welcome you to the One Africa Freedom Dialogue. And today we are talking about Africa's social transformation, whether it's valid or not. We have Freedom legend Adironke Afolabi, who is here today with us. And as we all know, she's family to us. She was a Freedom legend in, I think, 2022, 2021. And she's very amazing. She's a lawyer by profession, and she is a human activist as well. And today we'll be talking about with her on the theme, Africa's social transformation, valid or not. And we have her here right in our midst, whereby we'll be having the one-on-one interview. So Adironke Afolabi, we welcome you to the One Africa Freedom Dialogue. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here once again. It's always a pleasure.
Great. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me. I am fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm also fine. And how is the Nigerian anatomy? How is things there? How politics there? How is everything going there in general?
Oh, it's been a whole year. I wouldn't even lie, this is half of the year, and we've been going through things, especially considering all that's going on globally in the world. I guess in a way, it affects everybody, the economy, the dollar rising, the naira falling, you know. The new government seems to be taking their time to adjust to things, but at least we're being patient and being resilient as we always are. So we can't complain. We always have a positive attitude. I think that's how Nigerians, approach every challenge that they face in life. So I really can't say we have a lot to complain about, but we're thriving. And I think that's what's most important.
Great. It's good to know that you are thriving and you are on a progressive note. Regardless of all that is happening in Africa, people are thriving and there's a gradual process. And that's why we are going to talk on the theme today, Africa's social transformation. Because we feel that there needs to be a point in time whereby we are self-reliant, so that in the midst of various global crises, we can be able to pick ourselves up and be able to exclude all forms of anomalies and be able to find solutions within ourselves, the transformation we need. So we begin quickly with this interview as we progress on this discourse. So first of all, I want to ask you about social transformation. When we talk on social transformation, what do we mean, or what do we entail, or what do we envisage by the term social transformation? Thank you.
Yeah, so what I understand as social transformation is that change begins with us. It begins with the society. It begins with each human being that makes up the community. And so if there is any transformation that's going to happen, then it begins from, the homes, the family, the father, the mother, the kids, through the school institutions, through your work environment. That's how social transformation starts. It starts from the society, it starts from within us. So like they say, the family is the unit of the society. I also say that if transformation is to happen socially, it starts from the family, it starts from each and every one of us. So that's what I believe social transformation means. It starts with each person to want to make the world better doing their own bit.
Okay, fine. So with what you are saying, talking about how it comes from or it evolves from within, from our society, from our institutions, from our family, from our units, is the African embroidery, the African anatomy within our units, our societies, our institutions, are they capable enough of causing societal transformation that can lead to the self-reliance of our economies, of our governments, of everything, so we can depend on ourselves? Or you think that there's a long way forward? You think it's not possible with the way things are? Do you think it's possible or not? Do you think our institutions, our families, our society, do you think we can be able to indeed get to the point whereby we are self-reliant, based on how we train ourselves? Or you think that Africa has gotten to a mix, we're in a mess, whereby we have to, in a way, still look up to these hegemonic states and these foreign continents to be able to thrive? Do you think we can be able to build upon our own pillars for transformation?
Yes. So I think we want to ensure the system rots, because when the system rots, we benefit from that system of governance, and that sort of keep sabotaging our growth, because while some people are trying to put the building blocks of the foundation of Africa together, there are some people who are people have done their best to try to build, which I think is probably what we can attribute to Rwanda's success. The fact that just one person has been doing it for so long, they have given enough time to, they've had enough time to reassess, look at what's working, and then readjust and re-strategize. In Nigeria, for instance, the highest president or governor has is 8 years to try to reform things. And I believe that that's a very short time for one person to try to bring as much change as possible. And then before you know it, you have someone else coming in to continue, and most often than not, rather than build up on what this other person has done, the past president or the past governor, they come with their own new agenda, their own new goals. I feel like the problem is there isn't like a blueprint, a global or a general blueprint that all leaders should follow and build up on, as opposed to, I come into governance and I want to try to, reinvent the wheel and do something different. So what about all of that? So I think those are like the subliminal issues that happens, but at the very root of everything still has to do with corruption, because, there are people who benefit from the system being disorganized, being subpar. So I think that's at the very core of our problems. And then there's also the people. We also have our own responsibility. We also have our own parts in the sense that proactively engaging in political discourse. We're not trying to play our own parts in, enacting that change and bringing that change that we want. And it goes really deep, because I would say when it comes to even the smallest unit of governance, which is the family, you have irresponsible fathers who are not even good role models, who are not good leaders to like the future generation, the children. So people keep repeating those patterns of, how do I put it? They keep repeating the patterns of disunity, of disorganization, and then the children end up growing thinking that this is the norm. Corruption is the norm. I saw my father doing this, so that obviously has to be the norm. And then these people grow up to become the future leaders that we continue to deal with. And there's just a particular subset of people who believe that things should change, but are also very complacent and very quiet and not proactively engaging in, I think we are the architects of our own problems, and we're the ones sabotaging our own growth. So that's my take on the challenges that the governments might be facing, because it has to be a collaborative effort to ensure that there is that social transformation and there is that radical change. It starts with each person, because the governments can only do what they can do in their own parts, but we also have to do our own part to ensure that that comes to fruition. We have a shared vision. We have a shared, we have shared principles, shared values that we want to see in our societies. So I think there is equal blame to be passed all around.
Okay. So, Lawyer Afolabi, with what you are saying, you spoke about how you said there's no blueprint that leaders follow, in doing what they need to do. There's no global blueprint. If you are the president for the Nigerian Anatomy, you are the president, what structural policies will you to put in place towards ensuring that indeed Nigeria and also towards the contribution of the whole Africa is effective towards revitalizing us? Because we are in a global community, we're in a global world, and in this global world we are in, every continent has their own identity, they have their own values, they have their own beliefs, which causes them to progress regardless of crises that come in here or there, but we are always affected by them. That means we depend upon them. We don't have any identical flow that we can rely on through the crisis, through the thick and thin, to be able to survive. And I feel that that's really something that is really draining us as a people, because we don't have any specialization, and we're not able to do what we need to do. I wonder, what policies will you put in place, especially if you are, because you are really capable of being the president? What policies will you put in place if you are there one day? Thank you.
All right, that's very ambitious. Yeah, so if I were to be the president of Nigeria, there is so much to be done, obviously, but I think I definitely would start by reevaluating, our identity as a people, our value system, the structures already in place, because I believe more often than not, a lot of people rush into the system of governance thinking they want to bring something different. They want to reinvent the wheel. I don't think that's what to do. I think looking back into the past, learning from the mistakes of the past leaders and building up on, whatever it is they've done well, I think that's the best strategy to go about it. You look at what has gone wrong in the past and then you learn from it. That's why we have history. That's why we're supposed to learn from what has happened in the past and then build up on that and try as much as possible to create a system that showcases our shared values and our shared principles as, a community of people, and also highlight our strengths in terms of what are the ways we can push our strengths as a people, when it comes to our farming, when it comes to our economy. What are the things we can promote to the world rather than being so dependent on like the Western community, looking deep within ourselves and evaluating what that is, and then having that reflect in the policies and our system of governance. I think that's the approach I would take, or the strategy I would use if I were to build up a system or policies. And I think that would flow from the policies that I would create would flow from that line of thought, trying to harness our strengths as people when it comes to our agriculture, in creating, sustainable economies for ourselves, harnessing our cultural values, our history, encouraging tourism, bringing our people together, Africans in diaspora, and saying how we can come, promoting inclusivity and, that open dialogue where both the young and the old have that conversation, and then we know how to move forward as a nation from there. So I think it's a no-brainer. The answer is quite simple and obvious, but like they say, it's easier said than done. But I like to believe that would be what would be that I end up promoting as the president of Nigeria. I think that would be where my major focus would be on.
Okay, thank you very much. I mean, you've spoken clearly about how you want to ensure an inclusive inclusivity and an inclusive government, and you also want to include every age structure, and make sure indeed we are involved in the management of our affairs. And I think that will be very beautiful, because you go here, we have lots of people in every ministry in governance, right from agriculture to sports, but they are always being drained to other continents, right, from sports, agriculture, education, everywhere. And they go to
I said including healthcare as well.
Healthcare,
ICT.
Exactly. Then they go transform these places, and we are still left hanging. And you think about, you are asking yourself, what is going on? I mean, I heard something about Donald Trump just recently. I heard he went to a university, and there was this 14-year-old who was thinking of bringing forth a new technological product or so. And Donald Trump told her to discourage her and made her aware that she should be in the shoes of her peers, not be thinking of doing such proactive and such revolutionistic things. I was thinking, wow, is this the kind of leader that we really want to be with? I think that if indeed we are able to have an inclusive government, as you are saying, this would be very quintessential. But I want to ask you something in relation to the LGBT issue that has been revolving around our system for the few years. Recently, we had Uganda cutting their ties with America because President Museveni was like, he's not going to allow that to prevail in Uganda. And as a result, we had America cutting out certain policies that they had, certain bilateral relations they had with them. And I just want to just ask from you, Lawyer Afolabi, what would be your take on this? Assuming you are in this critical situation whereby, of course, we take funds from them, we depend on them for survival and all of that, but they have certain cultures which are demeaning and which would in the long run result in the destruction of our communities, deaths and all of that. What will you do? Will you appease to their cultures to be able to get funds, or you definitely track down these external and foreign cultures like LGBTQ? I want to know from that your take on this whole issue that is trying to infiltrate into the African system and reconstruct our identity. I want to know your views on this pertaining the African anatomy. Lawyer Afolabi, thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that question. Here's what I think. First off, I'd like to say that I am proud of Uganda's stance on this issue because it does show that they have some backbone and they are ready to start decisions they make, and they are not ready to let what they're eating affect, their vision or their goals as a community or as a society, right? So I'm a Muslim, right? Obviously, my religion is the core of my beliefs, my principles, my values, and LGBTQ as a social concept is not something that I believe in. So if I were to deal with that from the perspective that if I were to have this conversation, community to their own, right? That's one of the things that my religion also teaches me. It's that, for you, I'm not ready to judge whether their LGBTQ is good or bad or whatever. That's purely their own business. But I think fostering that on African nations and saying that, if you don't accept this, we're going to cut ties with you. I think it's very, should I say egotistical or very ridiculous, in a sense that that's giving neocolonialism. It's wrong to me in every sense of the word, because you're not to hold people at ransom and say, if you don't accept our beliefs, then we're going to take this away from you. We're going to do this to you. But that's ridiculous, because as a society, they make laws to reflect their values, their shared values, their shared principles. The bedrock of the society is the laws that are agreed upon by the people, laws made by the people for the people. And, that's the very basis of democracy as it stands. And that's the reason why people make laws. So now they're making laws, they're saying that this particular LGBTQ laws does not reflect our moral, does not reflect our moral standards in our society. They have every right to decide not to, promote such laws, because it does not reflect the shared values of the majority in their society. Now, the only thing I'm against is perhaps an oppression of minority groups, or, when it comes to vandalizing or maybe giving hate to people that, really that are members of that community. I'm totally against that. But I'm also saying that we don't have to accept it. We don't have to make it a law. We don't have to enforce it in our societies if we do not want to, if the majority of the people are saying that this does not reflect our history, our culture, our values, what we believe in as a group of people, then who are you to say that they have to, otherwise you take away their means of livelihood or whatnot? And I believe that that's the reason why more African countries should push for self-sufficiency and depending on themselves, as opposed to, going to seek aids that come with terms and conditions that do not reflect their values or their shared system. Because the law is there to, the laws have purpose. They're there to also preserve the moral fabric of the society. And if they are saying that, they do not want this, then they have every right to enforce laws that reflect that standard. That's what I think about it.
Oh, okay. We have loads of women who are doing great things in Africa. I mean, in your country alone, one of the people that African Voice National really admires is the WTO chairwoman, who is doing Dr. Ngozi Iweala. And we are having people like you, lawyer Adironke Afolabi. I mean, how do you see the gender flow in Africa? Do you think that it's there's a debilitating threat on women, which is cutting them from playing their rightful roles towards the transformation we need? Because we have lots of women who are there. And what are you saying to women at large, who want to do phenomenal things, but feel like, there's this construct that of this patriarchal standard whereby women have to settle for less? I mean, how are you going through the battle as a lady? I mean, you've gone through a lot, right from school to where you are. What are the battles you've been through? How have you been able to surpass, overcome, conquer all of them?
Yes. So my take on this is that although the margin is still quite wide, there's still so much work to be done. I think in recent years, we've seen progress in terms of, women taking up political positions and, the voices of women being heard. Obviously, there's still so many parts of Africa where, women are still marginalized groups and, they are not given the listening ears, they're not given the voice to speak. And we have had so many amazing, courageous women who have stood for that and who continue to stand for that and still fight for that. And I believe that I am one of them. I have aunties, I have sisters who are also people who speak up for this change. I think it's a change that's already in progress. Is a change. Yes, women are becoming more proactive. Women are speaking up. Women are starting to recognize their voices. And there's still so much to be done. But I do believe that having more female role models like Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala and Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, people like that, it just sort of is a breath of fresh air for the young generation, because we are starting to see evidence that that is a possibility for women. Success is a possibility for women. Having a voice, speaking up, being in great positions and important roles in society, in politics, and economics, that's a possibility for women. And it all starts with the education of the young child, of the young female girl. So that's already a work in progress. We see people fighting for that. And I do believe that it's only going to continue to get better. That's a radical change that is still in progress, is still continuing to happen. And I believe women are not going to stop speaking up for one another until every female child understands her voice, understands her role in society, and is able to stand at par and take her place in our society. So I believe that's a change that's currently ongoing. We just need more implementation. We need more women to come to that realization and do their own parts. And we also need support from, government organizations, NGOs. There are people doing good work on it already. So I just think it just needs to be reinforced and continuously, for as long as the female child exists, we continue to speak about it till that margin
is abridged.
Okay. Would you be there for any lady who wants to take over a very critical or a very top-notch position in your country, regardless of her ethnic backgrounds? I know in your country we have the Yorubas, the Igbos, and the Hausas as the main dominant groups in your country. I understand the Yorubas are mainly situated around Lagos and that trajectory. I just want to understand, regardless of the ethnicity, would you still be there for whoever, regardless of his ethnic background, or you are stuck to a particular ethnic identity?
I believe that women, every color, every race, every society she may come from, I do not care where she comes from. What I care is that she has what it takes. You know, she has the intellect, she merits it, and she has the right attitude for it. That's all I care about. I would give my support to a Yoruba woman, an Igbo woman, an Hausa woman, an Igbo woman, Ijaw woman, Ibibio. I would give my support to a Fulani woman any day, anytime, as long as I believe she has what it takes, the right attitude, and, you know, the minimum required intellect, really, to do this. As long as she has the minimum requirements and she has the right attitude.
The last two questions I want to ask you before we end this meeting is that looking at the Israel-Hamas case that we are all struck with right now, what's your take on the issue? We have South Africa who have taken Israel to the ICJ. As a lawyer, looking at things in the international system, what's your take on this issue, please?
I think it's a travesty. The fact that we have, you know, a genocide happening right before our eyes. At this point in time, I think it's clear to anyone who has eyes and anyone who has, you know, minimum required sense to see that regardless of, you know, whatever or whoever political group is at fault, we are seeing that a genocide is happening right before our eyes. And I think that's just inhumane that the Israel army continues to kill children, women. I do not care for their political ideologies. I just care for the fact that whatever it is they're doing is inhumane. It's crazy to see that is happening in real time in 2024. It's ridiculous to see. And I never thought that in my lifetime we would witness a genocide happen. So Israel saying that they're going to wipe out an entire country filled with dependent people, minorities, young women, children, many times, because I believe a lot of us have seen the horrific images and videos on our For You pages on social media, and it's really heartbreaking. So, wrong, there's nothing to qualify it. There's no right to this. There is no justification.
About the Russian-Ukraine issue, what's your take on it? Do you also move with the security of Ukraine, or you feel that there's a need for Russia to annex this country, Ukraine? Thank you.
I think everybody should just mind their business. I think global leaders should just stick to their territories and leave it at that. I do not see the reason for the expansion of territories. I do not see, I just see it as, you know, it might be a shallow way of thinking, but I just see it as being greedy, because I think the borders are already clear. each person already has their own territories. Now, going back to say, oh, this used to belong to me, this is, to me, it's just ridiculous. For peace to reign, let everybody stay within their borders and focus on their business. Is that so hard? But, you know, men, ego, an incessant need to have grandeur exploits, I guess. But I haven't followed too much on that side of politics, so I have really little to say on the matter.
Okay, thank you very much. Don't you also think that, I mean, in terms of Africa, our law enforcement system is very, very effective? Like, do we actually have an African court? And if we do, is it very effective? Because I feel we need to be able to have our own systems. We need to be able to have our own platforms to be able to work on our own issues, so that issues in this course can be really handled by our own selves. I feel we must be able to have an effective monetary fund, an African monetary fund. We must be able to have an effective court system. I want to ask: do we have an independent international court system in Africa, and is it effective? And what's your take on this centrality of we also instituting an African judiciary system in this flow? Thank you.
All right, so I do believe we have an African court system, but I don't think we have one that caters to just specifically African countries. I think we have the International Court of Justice, the International Criminal Court of Justice, and I do believe we have an African court as well. But what I'm just saying in essence is that when it comes to justice system, I think it's very geographically bound. Like each region, each state tends to focus on their own justice system because their laws tend to, you know, reflect their own value system. Because what may be a crime in Nigeria may not be a crime in Ghana, and what may be seen as, you know, maybe a felony in Nigeria may just be a misdemeanor in, you know, Ghana. So aside from like international war crimes or maybe crimes against humanity, war crimes, those like genocide, things like that are dealt with by the International Criminal Court of Justice, I do think that the African justice system, it's I do not want to be quoted on this, but I would just say that they're trying their best with what they have. It really is ridiculous, but I would say that there is the good side to it, and then there's also the bad side to it. I can speak for the Nigerian court justice system. There is the issue of congestion of cases in the courts, but I would say that our judges, you know, they're doing what they can. It may not be their best, but they're doing what they can with the resources that they have. That's all I have to say on that. We would like it to be more effective, but it is what it is. We're managing it the way it is.
Okay. I mean, lawyer, because of our time, we want to end here, but we want you to give in your final words. And I believe this social transformation dialogue is going to be, from time to time, it's going to progress. But I want to let you give your final words to everyone watching us on what your views are towards ensuring the global autonomy we want, whereby Africa has her own say in how things are. And it's not that does not appeal to foreign continents just for survival. Thank you.
Yeah, so my take for that is we need to have that widespread, you know, acceptance for each other, and then real economy for, you know, independence, for self-sufficiency, so that we stop relying on international aid docile to the Western community. I think that should be the starting point for us, because with that economic independence, we would be able to cater to our own problems and our own challenges and our own needs, dealing with things the way we want to, calling our own shots. But if we are constantly being held in shackles by international debts and foreign aids, I believe that we would continue to have this lagging progress. And I also think that good governance is also at the core of it. Corruption should be eradicated, obviously. But it takes each and every person saying that I want to do my part in ensuring this. The people in governance currently are doing something that you're not pleased with. Speak up about it. Think of ways to proactively bring that change to your community. If you're complaining about employment, create businesses that create employment. If you're complaining about the state of the economy, run for governance, run for key positions. All of us cannot do it, obviously, at the same time, but you can support whoever you think is doing the best that they can, or who you believe would represent your own values by actually going out there to vote. A lot of us are very complacent. We don't even exercise our basic duty, which is the duty of franchise, the duty of voting. So most of us don't even, do that basic civic duty. So I'll say that each and every person should speak up, just like the Nigerian youth say. So it's okay if you're going to fight against, indignity, don't just stay quiet. Talk about it. Propose change. Let's have our government people in political position to also listen to the people who put them there in the first place, because at the end of the day, the answer is right there. The people are saying what they want, and you should listen to what the people are saying and decide the best course of action that would create the solutions or the scenarios that we want to see, the Africa that we want to see eventually. And I also believe that African countries should do more in ensuring that there is acceptance, there is promotion of unity, there is that intercultural exchange, so that we can be more accepting to each other, more relatable to each other, we can have that communal sense with each other. And so it doesn't feel like, different people within one geographical area, but it just feels like one body called Africa. So I think that's the way forward.
You've spoken about how you centered on self-sufficiency, how we need to indeed depend upon our own selves. That was one of the things that you spoke that I feel that we all need to take cognizance of. And there's a lot of things that we've heard from our conversation today. I entreat you, wherever you are, to make sure you share this with a friend to listen to the insightful talk by lawyer Aderonke Afolabi. We need to eschew this form of stupidity that is trying to creep.
So it all starts with each individual. I feel like whatever reflects collectively starts with each person deciding that you're going to become more self-aware, they're going to make a change, they're going to proactively engage in the transformation that we're all seeking. So yes, while the government has its own responsibilities, we the people also have our own responsibilities. We need to step up, vote in the right people, even volunteer to, go into government positions. And if we cannot do that, offer our support in whatever way we can. I believe that the world can change if each person does their part. And so the part of the people is to ensure that we vote in people into governance who are for us, who reflect our values, who are not there chasing after their own pockets or who are corrupt. And we also need to do our own part to supporting our fellow brothers and sisters in other African countries, trading with each other, promoting local businesses, trying as much as possible to engage in community, in communal programs, and being more proactive in ensuring that, we foster peace, understanding, and togetherness within the African diaspora. Within the African community. And so that's the part of the people. And also there's the part for the governments, those who are in government, to ensure that we have these laws already. All they have to do is execute them properly. And then obviously the lawmakers are to always constantly reflect and review the laws that we have already to ensure that they meet up with the current standards, because the world keeps changing. There is advancement in technology. And so I believe everybody should do their part in trying to implement those changes without losing our identity, and trying our best possible to maintain, who we are, while we're trying to, while using all these technological advancements to foster our growth and promote our independence, so to say. So I believe that's what we all need to do. Everybody needs to do their part. And I will continue to reiterate that anywhere I go, you have a part to play, I have a part to play. Let's do our parts. Doing nothing, silence is just as good as, doing nothing. Being complacent is also the same as, promoting evil. So I'm a Muslim, and it says, my religion says that if you want to change, you need to be able to correct it with your hands or your mouth, or with your heart. And if you do it with your heart, that's the weakest of faith. So we encourage that people proactively try to do what they can in terms of encouraging or promoting our growth in the country. So that's fostering peace, togetherness, and supporting each other in the best way. Ensuring that from your own part of the world, promotes good. That's my view on this. We can foster collective change if each person becomes more self-aware and they start, or they commit to changing and becoming a better version of themselves. I think if majority of us do that, I think that would reflect in our society positively.
Wow, thank you very much, Freedom Legend Adiro Nkei. Freedom Giants, I entreat you all to make sure that you share what we've done today with everyone. My dear friend Freedom Legend Adiro Nkei is such a phenomenal speaker, an insightful lady who is always on point with what she says every point in time. She's spoken about how we need to promote local businesses, engaging communal programs, being more proactive, and also ensure peace together within ourselves, and also how the government needs to be very responsible in playing their role, in playing their quota for a new liberalized order, and how indeed we all need to foster a collective change, how we all need to uphold the spirit of Ubuntu. And we've been very humbled for hearing from her, and she will always be at every point in time on our programs. So I'm very humble, Freedom Legend Adiro Nkei, for being part of our program today. And this is very enlightening to everyone who watched the video. And they want to say thank you once again, African Voice National Freedom in Africa. Have a very great evening, and bye.